We're now joined on the dais by the Texas University coach, Chris Beard. Coach, welcome, and your thoughts about the upcoming year.
It's just great to see many of you. Obviously, the last couple of years with the COVID-infected seasons, we haven't done one of these in a long time. So lots of emotion coming back in here, thinking about the last 2 years and all we've been through. So great to see many of you this morning in person for the first time in a while. Exciting time of the year for all of us involved in college basketball. I'm sure many of you feel the same way. We're just looking forward to this first season at the University of Texas, and really proud of the team we're going to put on the floor here in a few days. I'm joined today by Marcus Carr and Timmy Allen, two of our players. Personally, I wish we could bring more than just two guys because we have so many stories on this year's team, so many players that I would like, to connect with the national media sooner than later. But Marcus and Timmy and I will represent a lot of people here today with our program. Our team's a work in progress. We have a lot of experience. I think that would be the identity of our team. But we're the first to tell you that we're really inexperienced playing together. So it's kind of like experienced inexperience, if that makes sense. But the guys are trying really hard. We're about halfway through our practices. Finally get to play some outside competition here in the next few days with a closed-door scrimmage and then an exhibition game. But just really excited to coach this year's group in Austin. Players I have a lot of respect for, and I really enjoy coaching this team so far. It's been a lot of fun. And again, can't wait for you guys to meet Marcus and Timmy today in person.
Okay, we'll take questions. We're going to start over on the far side left.
Hey, Coach, Brian Davis, Austin American-Statesman. You mentioned the other day about rat poison. Just wondering what you think about the, number 5 ranking in the AP poll. And do you think the guys see Gonzaga as number 1, as the early 1 versus 5 is what it's supposed to be?
I can't speak for the guys. Questions for them. The question to me with the ranking is, it's going to sound a little bit coaching cliche, but it's just true. I really spend zero concentrating on anything like that. A few years ago, I didn't even have social media and all that. And so, like, when I was coaching at Angelo State, I couldn't even tell you the preseason rankings and all that. Then at Little Rock, the AD made me get Twitter. And then in the early years in Lubbock, my daughters, were firing up the social media. So now to say that we don't know those things wouldn't be truthful. But it is truthful to tell you we spend zero time internally talking about preseason rankings and things like that. And I think what matters most is the postseason rankings, and that's certainly what we're going to work towards hard this first year. If you're ever going to win the fight, you got to be in the fight. And I think the first year it's always a challenge to be in the fight, but I'm confident that we will be. I think we have a team that can play with anybody in the country. We have a long ways to go to get there, but just in terms of the roster that we put together, I think gives us a chance to be more than competitive year one.
Got a question on the halfway up, right there in the middle.
Tyler DeLuca, Gaylord College at OU. Coach, obviously you've been in the Big 12. You've been able to kind of see some of the rivalries that go on. But now you're a part of one of the most storied ones in all of college sports between Texas and OU. Talk to me a little bit about how excited you are to play or coach in those games and going forward in the coming years.
This is my 16th year in the Big 12. So I was 10 years an assistant for Coach Knight and Pat, and 5 years in Lubbock, and now so I've been part of the Texas OU games for a long time. This year I had a lot of respect for Porter. We grew up kind of in coaching in the same times. Got a lot of fond memories of Porter. I was obviously at Little Rock and followed Porter with a coach between us, and he's somebody I just have a lot of respect for. So I'm looking forward to the competition of those games. But there's a lot of personal in that game, too, because of my respect for Porter.
We got another question on that same row.
David Smale, Associated Press. Coach, with all the conference realignment, talk about getting your team ready for the hostility that's probably going to be more than normal for Texas. I mean, Texas brings hostility in opposing fans. Is it going to be more, and how do you prepare your team for that?
Yeah, fair question. No, when you play at Texas, you're going to be a big game on everyone's schedule. For some people, maybe the biggest game, but for everyone, it's a big game. Comes with a lot of responsibility. We tell our guys all the time, everybody can't play or coach at Texas, but it's similar to a lot of schools in our league. I think this year with the coaching change and with the move to the SEC at some point, is there going to be some extra stuff? Yes. And I think what we do with our team is consistent with one of the key pillars of our culture, and it's just what we call truth telling. We're not going to, talk about anything other than reality. So we've already begun talking to our players about that, about how difficult it's going to be to do the things that we'd like to do. But it's really no different than anywhere else I've ever coached. If you're going to try to be in the fight, then you're going to have to understand you're going to have to overcome a lot of adversity. And I think this year, there'll be some adversity on the road, no doubt.
Question on the back, left side.
Hey, Chris, Chip Brown with Horns 24/7. Can you talk about whether the buy-in to play the kind of defense that you want, what that's been like, especially with so many high-profile guys coming in via transfer who can score the ball?
Yeah, it's been really well. I mean, it starts for us in recruiting. You can ask Marcus and Timmy today. We were talking about, our non-negotiables in the first conversation in recruiting, and some of those things include, we're going to defend. To me, it's never been about trying to talk great players into doing anything. I mean, great players want to win, period. Great players want to be coached, period. Great players want to be told the truth, in my experience, period. So the reality of it, in our sport, college basketball, you have to defend to win. You can win some games. You might win a tournament trophy here and there, but, to play for the real deal, you're going to have a defense. And I was telling the guys the other day, I really believe this. You get to March, you're trying to win 6 games in 3 weekends. And to do that, to me, you have to have a defense, because I don't think there's ever been a team that had 6 offensive nights in that tournament. For us, our season, first year, inexperienced playing together, all these new pieces, we're going to have a backbone of defense that can kind of get us started early. And then certainly the season always ends with having a good defense. So I told the players the other day, this whole thing starts with defense, and it'll end in defense if we get to play in that last game, which we all strive to do. Really, really easy to talk about, but extremely difficult to get there. But to me, if you're not willing to talk about something openly, then it's not real. And we do talk about, trying to play 6 games in the last tournament of the year.
Further questions for Coach? We got a question on the outside left.
Kendall Kaut, ODB. Chris, you have a lot of really good players this year, obviously. How do you feel like your team's going to handle it, knowing that some really good players won't be in the rotation?
I think all our players will be in the rotation that are striving to get there. We've got, just like every team, we've got people that have to run their own race. This year's first Texas team is a 4-8-3 model. Make sure I got my math right there. Got 4 returners, guys that I would have recruited if they would have been in the portal or in high school or anywhere else. A lot of respect for Shaka and the job he did in Austin. And so we really benefit from these 4 players having played for Shaka and played at Texas. The 8 and the 4-8-3 model are the 8 transfers. A lot of those guys have a lot of experience. So we're looking forward to those guys being a part of it. Then we have 3 freshmen on this year's team, including 1 walk-on. So, in our program, just like any other program, especially in this league, we don't sit around and give out anything. You earn, you get what you earn. And so with our players, I think everybody understands what they have to do to get the role they're trying to get.